For more about that discussion, the first China-made C919's maiden flight in Beijing, we're joined by Mr. Xu Jifeng, who is the Deputy Chief Engineer of Beijing Aeronautical Science and Technology Research Institute, Commercial Aircraft Corporation of China. Welcome, sir.
My pleasure.
And also joining us in Washington, D.C., Mr. Michael Plenny, who is the Airline Technology Consultant for H&M Plenny Consultants. Welcome. Joining us from Kuala Lumpur, we have Mr. Lam Chung-Wah, Independent Strategic Observer, who is a former aerospace engineer. Welcome as well. I want to start with you, Mr. Xu, here.
Hello.
Hello, welcome to you, sir. We'll start with you here in Beijing. What do you think? What is the significance of this C919? Why China needs to have something called of its own?
Okay, that's a good question. Actually, today we already see the C919 finishes the first flight successfully. Yeah, it's really for the China. It's the first big passenger jet to be manufactured, to be designed, to be manufactured in China. Is the starting point of the taking off of Chinese aviation industry.
That's right. Yeah. But why does China need to have something of its own?
Okay, so actually it's not only one commercial airplane. It's really for the Chinese aviation industry and other industries progress for the innovation, for the economic transition. Actually, it's Chinese dream, aviation dream, to have its own passenger jet. So for several generations, we want our own passenger jets.
Okay, what does that mean, Mr. Plenny, for, let's just say, Airbus, Boeing? Is that going to be more competition in the near future?
Yes.
Let's ask Mr. Plenny from US.
Thank you very much. Yes, it will be actually increased competition. Even if this C919 does not sell beyond China's borders in the next 5 years, after it's certified, the Chinese aviation market will continue to expand, and it could bite into the amount of sales that Airbus and Boeing both have here in China. The other thing is that in terms of heavy industry, developing a Chinese assembled aircraft and then eventually developing all of the subsystems that go with it is a way of developing a huge industrial infrastructure. Aircraft, as we know them today, the modern airliners, are some of the most technically complex and diverse pieces of machinery that you'll ever find. They integrate hardware and software. They require large methods of final assembly and also industrial production for all of the subsystems. So the development of this aircraft does not just affect the aviation industry, it actually affects all heavy industry within China.
All right. I want to go to Mr. Xu to clarify a few points. First of all, I understand there are already contracts underway right now purchasing these Chinese-made and likely to be totally Chinese airplane, commercial jets. Are they all Chinese companies, or they are a mixture of both Chinese and non-Chinese?
Actually, they are not only from Chinese airliners. Yeah, right now there are around 570 orders from more than 20 clients, but 34 of the orders from the countries outside of China.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting about the proportion there. Meanwhile, I want to clarify with you, sir. What do you think? Is it all about China technologies these days if you want to have a China commercial jet? Is it smart to have everything made by your own in a very globalized world? What is the thought from China, Mr. Xu?
Actually, we design an airplane, we manufacture airplane, but we use the global suppliers. So but we will adopt the most advanced technology to put on the airplane to make the airplane safe and have economic values and more comfortable for passengers and more friendly to the environment.
So you're actually having both Chinese technologies and technologies from elsewhere, products as well, in order to get the best for the final product. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yes, we integrated the most advanced technologies.
What do you make of that, Mr. Lam from Kuala Lumpur, about this answers coming from Mr. Xu and from the Chinese side, this interesting combination, even though it is a real Chinese-made commercial jet plane?
Yeah, for me, in my opinion, in the first place, I have to congratulate China for its maiden flight, because China is one of the faster growing aviation market in the world. And right now, when China enter the market, definitely it will become a very good competitor too against Airbus and also Boeing. And right now, for me, I think Airbus and also Boeing, they are also developing its enhanced version of Boeing 737 and also Airbus 320. But however, both of them, they are still in the testing process right now. And while when China complete its testing and also its test flight, things like that, maybe it will take another 3 to 4 years. So when it enrolls into the market, so definitely it will become a very good competitor to the other two, Airbus and also Boeing. And therefore, for for countries like Malaysia and maybe for the ASEAN countries, we have maybe a third choice beside from Airbus and also Boeing.
But the question is it going to be a smart choice, particularly, let's just say, from the price perspective? Is it going to be price in also competitive in a way, Mr. Xu?
Yeah, I think.
I think that's in the mind of a lot of people, right?
Yeah, there will be a price advantage, but I cannot make a detailed comment here about that.
I would let you do more about that.
Yeah.
We'll see how they would go in a few years. China boasts the world's largest and fast-growing aviation market for sure, which will eventually overtake the United States, as some say. Boeing has projected that China's fastly expanding middle class will create the first $1 trillion air travel market, needing about 7,000 extra aircraft over the next 20 years. So you see a huge market potential in China alone. But on the other hand, Mr. Xu, if you are building a China commercial jet, you don't want it's just the Chinese airliners that are purchasing these products, but rather international. As you said, there are already some contracts underway from outside China. But the tests for these planes are going to be extremely important for a final recognition about the safety and about the quality of Chinese commercial jet.
Yes,
Mr. Xu.
yes, you are quite right. Actually, the airliners, purchases the aircraft, according to its performance, its economical values, and of course the first priority about its safety. So the maiden flight of the C919 today means the beginning point for the more flight tests for the C919 to meet the requirement from the airworthiness certificate. So it will take several years to finish all the tests. It's all for the aircraft safety, all aircraft performance.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about that? What about that to you in Washington, D.C., Mr. Planning, that airworthiness certificate, that's an extremely important to acquire, yet from here to there, still a long process.
It is. You can expect about 2 years of testing before it achieves its full airworthiness certificate. And that would be just to get the certificate from the Chinese aviation authorities. I know that COMAC has already reached out and started talking to the European Aviation Safety Administration, EASA, and they would like to get another certification there. That would allow for the aircraft to be sold into the European markets, as well as in certain African countries, South American countries will accept the European Safety Airworthy certificate as their own. I don't believe that COMAC has already started any negotiations with the FAA here in the United States. That would be critical if they ever wanted to reach out to the full global community, because most countries in the world will accept a United States Federal Aviation Airworthiness certificate. Right. So in order to achieve its global maximum, they do need to have it certified not just within the Chinese authorities, but also the European authorities and the American authorities as well.
So this is really a globalized world we're talking about, particularly when it comes to aviation industry, Mr. Planning. I mean, it is not just about the product itself. At the very early stage, it is about making things on your own, by learning from the others, and also come up with technologies on your own. But the second stage is a much globalized stage. It needs a lot of communications with others. It needs recognitions from the others. It needs negotiation styles and capabilities as well. Mr. Planning, what do you make of this second stage of development? What does it say to the Chinese if they want to really go to the second stage in order to reach the real globalized market?
It's almost as though you're building the airplane a second time. Getting it certified internally in China and having the experience of having it operated by the launch customer, China Eastern, and then the rest of the internal Chinese customers will provide all of the data necessary to allow for these certifications to happen elsewhere. It also inspires confidence in other countries' airlines to purchase it when they see that it has been successfully operated. It's a complete phase 2, but it's a huge undertaking to get those additional certifications.
It is.
It also has a lot of impact on global trade and global diplomacy. We've used the phrase in the past, airframe diplomacy, for countries such as the United States when they're selling Boeing aircraft, for the European Union when they're selling Airbus aircraft. It's a way to establish very high dollar, high value trade with many different countries. And right now, while China has an enormous global economy, they don't have anything in this, what is really sort of the most expensive, highest costing technology. And getting it certified by EASA and the FAA will give them the opportunity to do that in the future.
We'll have Mr. Xu to respond later, but for now I want to go to Mr. Lam. Of course, safety issue, always a big issue in aviation industry. Malaysia certainly have seen some of the latest incidents. Mr. Lam, what do you think from the safety perspective when you look at the China making its first airline a commercial jet and now have this maiden flight? What would you say about the safety issue from your perspective?
Yeah, I think China as the first Asian country to produce its own commercial, 150-seat passenger aircraft is a very, very good success.
Yes.
Definitely, people from here, Malaysia, we are all concerned about safety and also airworthiness, things like that. But I think, as far as I'm concerned, China is very, very concerned about this also, and think they will take care about the safety issue, and I think they will put the safety at the first place also, because in terms from the customer perspective, safety, comfortability, things like that are their main concern. But from Malaysia's side, I think it's a very good choice for me. I think for us, we perhaps in the next 5 to 10 years, we will have another choice to choose, except from Boeing and also Airbus. But I think beside that also, we don't forget that there is another competitor, which is Russian MC321, which is a very kind of another 150-seat passenger aircraft also. Perhaps they will maybe increase the competition in the industry.
Yeah, Mr. Xu, from the discussion you can see, certainly it's not, as you just said, about the first stage, creating the airplane, but rather also about the second stage, really going global, get recognition from everybody else, make sure it is the best product, the most competitive. Are we far from there?
We are going that way. The first thing I wanted to say, this aircraft was designed, manufactured, and tested according to international standard. So for the safety, international safety standard, so we test on the ground, on the sky. So today indicates the beginning of our flight test on the sky too. Of course, there are more tests on the ground too. So we will finish every step for the test for safety. So we will give customer their confidence for our aircraft safety.
I hope in the future, in the blue sky, I hope we're going to have the blue sky first of all, and then we're going to see Boeing, Airbus, and also the Chinese made commercial jets, as well as Russian and many others flying over there to make comfortable for our passengers worldwide. Thank you so much for the three of you gentlemen for sharing this very historical moment, shall I say, with all of us. Lam Chung Wah from Kuala Lumpur, Michael Planny from Washington, D.C., and Xu Jifeng
Thank
here
you.
in Beijing. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.